You'd like to live a healthier lifestyle, but quite honestly, your schedule is just too busy, and it feels like it's difficult to implement all the things that you feel that you need to do to get to that point. Well, my guest today, Geeta Sidhu-Robb, is here to give us some easy and effortless ways to have a healthier lifestyle and to feel that vibrant energy, especially if we are trying to be at that peak level of wellness. Geeta, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
So, Geeta, I understand you're here from the UK. Your company is Nosh Detox, and you started it with a pretty interesting but yet scary experience in your own personal life.
Yes, I was working as a corporate lawyer, and my first child got really, really sick. And he had asthma, eczema, anaphylaxis. He had cardiorespiratory arrest. He died in my arms, and we resuscitated him. And he just never got better. You know, no drugs, no steroids, nothing made him better. So after a year of trying, I took him out of the medical system. And I thought, I'm just going to do this myself. So I used different alternative methods of healing. And I came to understand that there's just one thing in life that really, really matters when it comes to your health. The only thing that predicates how you feel, how you look, how you think, how you focus, your success depends on what you will put in your mouth every single day.
You know, as a mother myself, I can't even imagine having a child that's that sick.
It was pretty awful. I mean, in his first 365 days, we spent 260 days in hospital. I knew the emergency nurse so well, I was a bridesmaid at her wedding. That's like way too much time in hospital.
You know, you raise a really interesting point. It's not just about having a healthy lifestyle, but when you have a chronic condition, whether it's allergies or a autoimmune disease, that sometimes conventional treatment alone can't turn it around for you.
No, and the thing is doctors treat illness. So they come at a space and look at this illness and they think, how can we cure an illness? What we do at Nosh Detox is we treat wellness. So you can look at anything from a chronic disease. And I really want to stress that this is even just about, you look at a paper and think, I'm not taking this information in. I'm not understanding this. I'm finding it hard to work today. My performance isn't good enough. All of that is dependent on literally what goes in your mouth.
Now, I know that you mentioned that, you know, obviously your child was only a year old when you started using different types of foods and a way to treat him. Is this something that is applicable to all ages?
Yes, it is. You know, when you get pregnant, there is a statistic that says that a child only ever gets between 40 to 55% of what you have. So imagine that if you have a very low immune system, what you're passing on to your child. And then, of course, as that child gets 10 years old, and then they become 14 and 16 and 50, everything depends on how strong you're feeling. I mean, it's relevant to your health predicates how you feel every day, right?
You know, it's interesting, and I know we're sitting here in front of this table and we're looking at a muffin and some chocolates. You know, when we're busy as mothers or as professionals, oftentimes we just grab what's in front of us.
Absolutely. And there is an entire industry built around what's in front of you should taste fast. You know, it should be salty, it should be sweet, it should be instant gratification. And the problem is that the health industry is finding it difficult to provide those solutions instead. It's getting much, much better now, but it's really hard because that muffin you can find every 4 yards down the high street.
Right, yeah, it's interesting because I know we think in the morning that, oh, well, this is healthy. You know, I'll just grab a piece of fruit, I'll grab a banana, I'll grab a muffin, I'll have a cup of coffee. I mean, that's like standard fare, whether you're in the UK or in the US.
Yeah.
And is that the right thing to be starting our day with? Well,
I'm a really big believer in starting your day with fruit. I think that's a fantastic thing to do because your body, you wake up generally very dehydrated and your body really, really has spent an entire night dumping the toxins into your lymphatic system. And it has no, you know, you have two circulatory systems in the body. On one side, you have your blood system, which is pumped by the heart. Mm-hmm. On another side, you have the lymphatic system, which collects all the gunk from the blood, but it has no pump. So the only way the rubbish that's collected in the lymphatic system leaves your body is when you move. So the minute you start moving, your body actually needs you to dilute and enable that to leave. So fruit is fantastic. But fruit, there are certain very basic rules. Eat fruit as raw as you can. Eat it on its own and don't mix it with anything for at least 10 minutes. Because if you do, it turns into acid in the system. If you don't mix fruit with anything, it just turns into this awesome elixir of life that goes straight through you and does everything it needs to do.
Okay, so if we were to break this into steps, just starting in the morning, you say fruit.
Yep.
Not mixed with anything else.
Nothing else. And then you can go on from that. You know, after 10, 15 minutes, you can go and you can have oats. You can have, I'm just not a big believer in having gluten in anything. I think it's very bad for the system. The way we make gluten these days is modified. So it's just very different to the gluten that your parents and my parents used to eat.
Right.
So have rye bread, have spelt, have barley, have any of those types of things. And again, with a non-dairy product. Have it with an oat milk. I actually think soya milk is not as bad as it's made out to be. You'd have to drink so much for it to actually interfere with your health at all. So you could, that would be breakfast. And if you're having a bowl of oats, put in seeds, put in nuts, and that will keep you going. You can chop in avocado even if you feel like it, and that will keep you going pretty much till lunchtime.
So for all of you watching us this morning, it sounds like it's simple on one level, but it feels a little complicated because we're needing to buy things that we don't normally purchase at the store. We're having to rework our habits.
You are, yes. But actually what that means is that if you were going to go and exercise, you would have to put that into your routine. We talk about success rituals. We say, right, put in success rituals into your life, which will enable you to succeed. So take one step every day. Just don't make the earth shatter. One step a day, and I'm good with that. Even if you separate your fruit from your other food, it's a bonus. If you put, ultimately, the fact of feeling satiated is very different to feeling full. And that's important to understand. You feel satiated, ultimately, when you mix, and this is a really big secret in the health industry, when you mix fat and you mix protein, you are satiated. And it is incredible. If you took, like I have breakfast where I mix avocado and a banana and I'll put in some form of protein. I'll put in nuts, I'll put in a powdered protein, chia seeds are very high in protein. I'll blend that. I cannot eat for 3.5 hours afterwards. I mean, it's against conventional wisdom. That's so much fat in there. Wouldn't it make you feel bad? No, you feel fantastic and you're not hungry. It's snacking that kills you through the day as well.
I love what you're talking about here, this whole idea of success rituals,
yeah,
for our wellness. So it sounds like a great one is to start with fruit. What's another easy to implement success ritual?
The one that you hear all the time, which is drink loads of water.
Right.
Right, drink loads and loads of water because, why do you need water? You need water because your lymphatic system needs to dilute in order to leave your body. In the many ways your body excretes toxins. And water is the fastest way to maintain health because it makes the lymph dilute. The other success ritual is that if you spent just 1 or 2 days a week going completely gluten and dairy free, completely, and I don't mean oat gluten, but completely gluten and dairy free, it would literally change how you felt. It would change your physique, bloatedness, puffiness, it would change that completely.
Okay, so start with fruit in the morning.
Yep.
Drink loads of water. How much water are we talking about?
Well, I mean, you don't want to go insane, but I tend to, and you know, if you have to work at it, you're not going to do it.
Right.
So I tend to open a bottle in the morning and I finish that till lunchtime, and I open another bottle at lunchtime and I finish that till the next morning. And that's just what I do. And I try and do that every day, and it gives me a measurement of how far I've gotten the day.
And the third thing you said I think is really interesting is to have an occasional, I guess we'll call it a fast, where you're not having gluten and you're not having dairy for that day. And that will take out just some of the puffiness I know that we can feel. You know, I know that sometimes, you know, I travel a lot, and there's days where I just feel a little foggy in the morning.
Yes.
What would contribute to that?
The fact that your body is just struggling to create, to manage what you've put into your system and break it down. You know, people talk about how motherly love is the most important love in the world. And, you know, we look at that because my life is based around how much I feel about my child. But there is a love that is greater than motherly love. The love that your body has for you is more important than any other love you will ever meet in the world. Whatever you put in your system, your body is always going to try and break it down, make good out of it, and dump what's not good for you. So when you're feeling foggy, what your body's going is it's going, hang on a minute, I'm just having to deal with this stuff that you made me eat. And when I've dealt with this, I'm coming back to you.
Right. You know, it's interesting to think about that. I didn't realize how important food is. You know, we hear a lot about supplements, vitamins, things of that nature. What is the role that that plays? You know, here's food, here's supplements, and then, you know, here's everything else. How does that all play in together?
Well, let's take it in two steps. If you look at, first of all, food, what is the big deal? I mean, why not eat a muffin every so often?
I mean, it looks good.
Yeah, it looks fantastic. I mean, it smells great, you know, and I'm a big believer in cake in life.
Right.
I have an 80-20 rule. 80% of the time eat well, 20% of the time eat cake.
Right.
But people don't understand that when you eat that, it will literally affect how you think. They do not understand that. And every time when I stand up and I make a speech or something, I will be holding a muffin or McDonald's chips or something, and I'll be saying, you know, would this affect how you think? Who hands up, who believes that? And nobody will put their hand up. But if I take a bottle of vodka and put it up on the stand and go, who believes this will affect how you think? Everybody will put their hand up. Mm-hmm. So what is the difference between the vodka and the muffin or the chips or whatever? It doesn't matter where the chips come from. What is the difference? Nothing at all. They're going the same pathway and they're having the same effect on the body. One is visible, one is not visible. So you need to understand that everything that goes in your mouth makes who you are today. The second thing is that in today's life, the food just doesn't have enough nutrients in it for it to sustain you. It doesn't. It doesn't matter. You have to work so hard to get the right amount of nutrition. And you'll be buying organic, and then you'll be sourcing local food, and you'll be traipsing through a farm, and it's not going to work because your kids are going to be, you know, have run away from home, and it's not going to work. So you just need to accept that you have to have supplementation in your diet in order to support you. Supplementation has a few very, very basic rules. All supplements go for the best quality you can afford, then go for the most liquid supplement you can afford. Because what happens there is the body is taking it and absorbing it immediately. It is not having to fight over the capsule and the gelatin and the this and the that. So as liquid as you can get. And then whatever the recommended dosage is, generally speaking, find your own version of that, but you will mostly need more, because that is what they recommend as a minimum dosage, like vitamin D. The majority of people that have dark hair have a vitamin D deficiency because we don't spend enough time in the sun, and we've been taught that the sun is bad for us. So I have a client who came in who's a banker, and he had really sore arms, and he was he had some kind of Asian origin, and he couldn't work, he couldn't write. We got his vitamin D tested, and he had 0 vitamin D. He's on 30,000 IU of vitamin D a day. Recommended allowances are around 400 IU a day. Right? I will take 3,000 to 4,000 IU a day because I know I am not getting out in the sun. You know, my kids are on 2,000 to 3,000. Now, I'm not saying you need to do that, but I'm saying that test what works for you, because it makes a huge difference when you supplement.
So you talk about testing, and so how can, you know, someone who's watching know where their vitamin levels are?
Well, there's really 2 ways of doing it. If people come in the door to us and say things like, for example, you know, we have a lot of experience. We've dealt with hundreds of thousands of people. If you say to me, I'm not sleeping, I will say, let's look at your magnesium. If you say, I crave salty things, I'll say, let's look at your trace minerals. If you say, I'm craving sugar and that's not working so well, we'll be saying, your probiotics, your intestinal flora is really not working very well. So for us, those are markers. But what we've learned along the way is that if you believe what we tell you, it's much more efficient. So we send people to labs, you know, and we send them to labs and we say, okay, take these tests. And it's a simple, I mean, I'm a real wuss. I don't like needles. Needles and I don't get on. But 99% of people are much braver than me, and they'll go give blood.
Right.
And it's a very simple test. And we tell people, you know, test for this, for this, for this. And then we can look at it and go, okay, great. It's algorithms, it's maths.
Right.
You know, it's so easy once you pay attention. But we don't know that we have the right to be always sparkling and up and functioning.
Right.
And we think, I'll have a coffee. Which, by the way, have one. You know, be my guest, have a coffee. Just don't have 20.
Right. So it sounds like what you're talking about is not only moderation, but also having an awareness of where your levels are. You may be low and not even realize it.
Do you know, it is absolutely true. The thing I have understood about this is I can change anyone's body and anyone's view on how they work within a matter of 3 to 4 days. That's incredible, isn't it?
That is incredible.
It means that the body loves you so much. It's always, every hour, per every minute, per every millisecond, it's working to make you healthier. All you have to do is get on the same train. not wave at it from the other the platform.
That's not my body. I do think that we live that way. I think we live that way. Like, that's not my body. That's someone else's body.
Yeah, and then I'll go and give
especially if we're parents, or especially if we're working, or we're just on the go. It's like we forget about our body.
Completely. I mean, you can sit there and say, God, I'm so tired, and oh my gosh. Whereas if somebody said, that paper's not well written at work, what will you do?
Go rewrite it.
Instantly.
Right.
But when you're tired, what do?
Ignore it. Hope you wake up soon.
Yeah, and then get a coffee and then think, oh, thank God I got through another day. Really? Seriously, what else do you have today in the world? And the thing is when you clean the windows of your body and you look through clear, crisp, shiny glass, it makes the biggest difference. I mean, I look at my age, and in my age group, the majority of women are doing facelifts, they're doing everything else that they can. And you think, okay, do it, by all means, I'm with you on that one.
Right.
However, take a step back and clean yourself up. If you purify and nutrify your system, you will automatically look so much younger, so you need less work done. Again, I'm a wuss, needles, you know.
So a question I have for you, Geeta, is what is the role of what you're talking about with conventional medicine? You're not saying to do this in place of conventional medicine, or are you?
I would never say something like that. I may think it sometimes.
Right.
I think that you need to clearly understand, we all need to clearly understand, that doctors treat illness. We treat wellness. Doctors treat illness. Where are you in that sphere of things? If your train leaves from the station here, you have wellness, 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 wellness. And then there's a place in the middle where you start thinking, ewness. That's a technical term, ewness. And then from ewness, if you don't pay attention, you can tip into illness.
Right.
So where are you? Now, when you go to a doctor and you say, ow, the doctor goes, and looks at your ow and treats that ow.
Right.
When you come to us and you say, ow, we go, did you go to the loo? Did you sleep last night? What happened? How do you feel? We'll feel your skin. We'll look at your eyes, and then we'll say, now. The ear here is because da-da-da-da over here. Because the body is not separate. It's interconnected. If a railway station in New York closes down, it is going to affect a train in St. Louis if it's headed in that direction. Why is your body different?
So what I hear you saying, Geeta, is that it is a holistic approach, that it's not just what we put in our mouth, it also impacts what we think, how we move our bodies, the amount of sleep that we get, that we really need to take everything into consideration instead of just one place where we have, an ow.
Well, yeah, because bottom line, it's very simple. How do you feel? It's about how you feel. When you feel good, you do good things, and you're a nice person to be around. And, we're both mothers. When you've had no sleep and you're tired, you want to kill people. I mean, it's horrible, and we're horrible. How do you feel? And if how you feel is not right, change how you feel. Not fix one little bit in one little corner of your body and then imagine that that will create a solution.
So tell me a little bit about Nosh Detox. I know you're based in the UK, and you started it because of your child and your experience with your child, but tell me more about it. How has it grown and evolved?
It's a wonderful business. I feel very privileged to do this every day. So we work locally, and then we kind of work internationally. Locally within the United Kingdom and Europe, what we do is people come to us with problems, and they say, I don't feel great, or I want to lose weight, or I want to do whatever. And we look at them, and we help them to find the fastest way to that solution. Sometimes that will be supplements. Sometimes it will be creating a food and a juice program for them. And then we will make that food and juice, and then we will send it to them. So we actually very specifically create diets for people and ship them to them. Internationally speaking, we don't do that so much. That's very Europe-wide. Internationally speaking, we coach people over the phone and over Skype. And we had the head of a TV executive, a very, very important TV company who was in Hollywood, who rang us and said, I can't sleep. And we were like, oh, I'm not surprised. So what we did with him was we sent him for tests, and we checked, which we knew was going to happen. He was very low in magnesium, and his body was very stressed. And so we made him a little Amazon cart, and we told him what to take, and we did that monthly. And we literally worked out his diet month on month, and it took us about 3 months, and he's sleeping through the night, and that's fantastic. So we now have a whole studio to deal with. But so what we do...
The ripple effect.
The ripple effect. What we do is we work with people in any way that we can, because we're truly one-stop, holistic approach to making you feel better, and in the fastest possible way, because the solution is so often very simple, very easy, and very quick, and we're experienced enough, and I have a wide team of nutritionists, naturopaths, and health coaches where we all pool information to be able to give you your solution to make you feel better today.
I love that. And what are some of the things that can be treated? We're calling it treated, but what are some of the things that can be shifted inside your body with just changing your diet?
Well, we actually cured chronic fatigue. And I'm allowed to say that only for chronic fatigue, because we had a client who had blood tests before and blood tests afterwards. And this is what her doctor said. And so she couldn't walk when we met her. She had 2 sticks and a shawl. She was 52. That's too young not to be able to walk. And it took us about 2.5 weeks of just pumping green smoothies at her. And she went on her first business trip in 7 years.
Wow.
So you can pretty much do absolutely anything. There are things like alternative cancer treatments, which, you know, we don't, there are institutes that run that when they give them raw food and they give them lots of different types of alternative support in order to bring the body back to healing. You know, when your body says it's ill, it's just not in balance. It's not well. So what you do is, if you can bring it back up to wellness, most things will disappear. 60 to 70% of your ailments will disappear just because of that. Then the rest you need to tweak and work out what's going on there. But because our wellness is so linked to our emotional health, you know, so sometimes you'll get so with anybody, you'll get the emotional things that affect you hitting you here, and you'll get the physical things that affect you hitting you here. So if you're trying to create a change here, you can either come at it mentally or you can come at it physically. And sometimes to have the best effect, you should come at it in both directions.
So, wonderful advice. If someone is sitting at home and they're like, I love what she's saying, I want to feel better, what's one thing that I can implement today? What would you say to them?
I would say the thing that had the single biggest effect in anything that you do is to give up gluten and dairy for a few days, because it gives your body time to rest. It gives you time to find out what's actually going on, because they are very suppressive markers in your body. So if you gave up all milk, just give up all milk and everything that has milk, and then just don't eat pasta and bread for a few days. You know, you can eat other things like oats. I ate a lot of porridge when I first started this. I had porridge with oat milk like all the time because I couldn't work out what else to eat. But you know, rye bread, America is fantastic for this. Europe is fantastic for this. There are alternatives that belong with rye, oats, spelt. Use those grains. Use quinoa, which is a fantastic grain. And eat that instead. But up the level of protein as well in your diet.
Geeta, thank you so much for being here.
Having
Incredible insights. And you know, it's interesting now that you mentioned about the muffin. You know, it looks great, but what you're talking about is so exciting. I think that it's worth, you know, moving in that direction and being willing to try. It won't even feel like a sacrifice.
No, it won't. And really, if you're looking at this, I mean, I would eat the chocolate before I would eat the muffin.
Well, that's good news.
Yeah, I would eat the chocolate. Let's be clear about this. So I would eat that, but I would eat that before I'd eat the muffin, because my body would digest and process that much easier than it would the muffin. For me, the muffin is something I would do as dessert from time to time.
Good news for all of us girls. So thank you so much for being here. Geeta Sidhu-Robb, all the way from the UK, and the CEO of Nosh Detox. Thank you so much.